some of you may find this soundtrack very familiar. Others may dread this progression of sound effects. Either way, they are both games. Whether you call them Kahoot, Duolingo, or Language Nut, they all use pleasure rewarding to ensure you get the correct answer. And that's what we're talking about in today's episode. My name's Shiloh McMillan, and this is Kids Wave Radio.
Kids Wave Radio, let your mind be free. Explore, learn, and share in harmony. Email us your thoughts, join the band. Kids Wave Radio at protonmail.com, take a stand.
Now, starting with one of the most commonly used apps to learn a language, or for that matter, anything else now that they've upgraded it, Duolingo. And they have over 52 million daily active users and 133 million monthly active users. And globally, the platform has surpassed 1 billion total lifetime downloads, with roughly 11 million of its learners subscribed to the paid Super Duolingo. And here's what the inventor, the CEO of Duolingo, Luis von Ahn, said about his product and how he made it as addictive as social media.
If you really want to deliver education to everyone, not only do you have to make it accessible, but also you have to make it so that people want to actually learn. And with Duolingo, we've been able to do this. What we've done is that we've used the same psychological techniques that apps like Instagram, TikTok, or mobile games use to keep people engaged, but in this case, we use them to keep people engaged, but with education.
So what he's saying there is he's tried to mimic the algorithms of Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, etc., and incorporated them into a learning device. But it's not all good. Listen what he has to say next about how he managed to harness kids' attention spans.
Let me give you some examples of these techniques. One of the most powerful ones is the notion of a streak. What a streak is just a counter that measures the number of days that you've used the product consecutively. You just take that number, you put it very prominently in your product, and then people come back every day. And the reason people come back every day is because, well, if they don't come back, that number resets to 0, and people don't want to lose their streak. It works. Now, on the one side, streaks have been criticized for example, getting teens addicted to Snapchat. But in the case of an educational app, streaks get people to come back to study every day. Now, to give you an idea of the power of streaks, in the case of Duolingo, we have over 3 million daily active users that have a streak longer than 365. That means they haven't missed a day in the last year or longer. Now, fun fact about streaks.
Now we're going to hear from Cal Newport, who responded to this TED Talk made by the creator of Duolingo. And here's what he said.
You're just listening, you'll see you're selecting avatars, you're clicking on things, questions are coming up, quick, bright graphics so you can see what's happening. There's an avatar that looks nice. There's an owl that looks really fun. Things are moving around. Questions are coming up. So it does really look like a really sort of friendly, colorful app. And so it's supposed to have this addictive feel so that when you feel that urge to pull your phone out of your pocket instead of going to TikTok. So when we go to Duolingo, there's an owl with glasses. We're going to have fun with this. Let's go. So what von Ahn is saying in his TED Talk is let's try to win at that game. Let's make this sort of fun, and there'll be a nice reward because when you click on the app, there's an owl wearing glasses and stars fly around and you have streaks, and that dopamine system will say, hey, let's take out this app and let's play it. All right, here's the problem about that. If you had nothing else going on your phone, if it was your phone had the weather app and Duolingo, that's a nice reward, and you might feel compelled to pull out the Duolingo and play with it. The problem is that you are competing with TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, mobile games. You're competing with applications that are also trying to hack the dopamine system.
I also asked the opinions of people who actually use Duolingo, and here's what they said. One person I asked said, maybe Duolingo, you don't learn much. Everything is just games on there now. which reflects that students are actually noticing how gamified Duolingo has now become. After all these upgrades, you can now learn chess by competing against one of their famous characters, Oscar. You can learn maths, English, and even music using their digital keyboard. And that's just... Moving on to Kahoot, you probably recognize their iconic theme. Which has been variated into about 7 different styles. Now, more on this soundtrack, in fact. This prompted me to do a bit of research regarding it. The lobby music was composed by Alf Ing Wang, a professor at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and the co-founder of Kahoot. Now, here's where it starts to get interesting on the psychological side of how he designed it. He designed the upbeat, suspenseful melody to keep players engaged and calm while waiting for others to join the game. It was specifically designed with a tempo of 120 beats per minute and a catchy, loopable melody in C minor to build anticipation in the classroom. Now, let's explore deeper into this. The fast tempo naturally increases the listener's heart rate, signaling to the brain that an exciting or important event is about to occur. Also, because the music is paired with the anticipation of the game, answering correctly and seeing your name on the leaderboard, the brain associates the track with dopamine, which is the reward hormone which we've been talking about. So that just shows how, through sounds, visuals, or even memorable characters, these games will hook you on. Now, moving on to the countdown timer. Human brains suffer from loss aversion, meaning that we hate losing things more than we like winning them. The shrinking 20-second bar visualizes an immediate loss of opportunity, triggering a rush to act before time runs out. The repetitive, driving rhythmic loop makes 20 seconds feel much more shorter than it actually is. It crowds your working memory, making it harder to quietly process the text on the screen. This music is structurally engineered with staccato synthesizers, rhythmic stratification, and also the final climax. The sharp biting synth notes mimic the mechanical ticking of a clock, which acts as a persistent auditory reminder that time is slipping away. The track terminates in a sudden jarring gong, as most of you will know. This audio cue instantly cuts off the tension, forcing players to brace for the immediate emotional payload of the leaderboard update. And this just demonstrates how serious psychological effects are transcribed into one game. But aside from this, researchers generally agree that Kahoot can be an effective learning tool. And here's the downsides. However, some have raised concerns that timed quizzes and leaderboards increase stress, encourage guessing, and distract pupils from deeper learning. Teachers interviewed for research praised Kahoot, but then also mentioned stuff as internet problems, getting questions right, overexcitement, and the game moving too quickly. One teacher even said that the leaderboard motivates some students but discourages others, especially if they never appear near the top. Students guess too quickly, the countdown timer creates stress, students guess instead of thinking, and slower learners struggle to keep up. Students become afraid of losing. And many people have said things about learning games. MIT's Scott Osterwale has said that if somebody comes to me and says, I want to make maths fun, I don't want to work with that person because they don't think maths is already fun. His point is that good educational games should build on genuine curiosity and not cover learning with rewards like Duolingo and other versions. He's basically saying that we should remove all points, leaderboards, gems, shops, whatever, and make it focused on the actual genuine curiosity and education side. But now, learning games aren't all bad. Kahoot and Duolingo can make lessons feel more enjoyable. Duolingo is specifically getting people to practice a Spanish or whatever language lesson a day. And some teachers also find that quizzes, points, and quick feedback help pupils take part and remember information. So, with all this set out, what do you think? Do you think that these games, these learning games, are a good idea? Quick, 20 seconds, pick the red triangle. I'm joking, we're not doing Kahoot. Instead, you can use our other options. kidswaveradio@protonmail.com is the email address you need to email me, or you can leave a comment below with your answer or vote in our poll. Now, as we're on this topic of smartphones and screens, we're going to hear from Professor Jared Cooney-Horvath, and he's a cognitive neuroscientist. He has a PhD in cognitive neuroscience from the University of Melbourne and is currently working as an honorary research at that university, and he has published 60 or more peer-reviewed research papers and several books on learning and memory. He is going to talk about technology not automatically meaning better learning. And here he is.
Across 80 countries, if you look at the data, once countries adopt digital technology widely in schools, performance goes down significantly, to the point where kids who use computers about 5 hours per day in school for learning purposes will score over 2/3 of a standard deviation less than kids who rarely or never touch tech at school. And that's across 80 countries. Bring it home to the US. Let's go to the US. We have our NAEP. That's our big data. Take any state, and here's a fun experiment you can try. Take any state NAEP data, compare that to when that state adopted one-to-one technology widely, and watch what happens. The NAEP data will plateau and then start to drop. This is all correlative. What we really want is causative. To get causation, what you need is academic research, and you need mechanisms, explanations for why we're seeing what we're seeing. Luckily, we have academic research stretching back to 1962 that shows the exact same story for 60 years. When tech enters education, learning goes down. In fact, one of the biggest ed psychologists right now, Dylan William out of the UK, recently said, ed tech is a revolution that's been coming for 60 years, and we're gonna have to wait another 60 because it ain't doing anything. Now that's research, but now we need mechanisms. Luckily, over the last about 2 decades, we've been doing a lot of work in what we call the science of learning. How do human beings learn? And we now have the clear understanding of why tech does not work for learning, and it is all biological. It's not that the tech isn't being used well enough, we haven't been trained enough, we need better programs. It's we have evolved biologically to learn from other human beings, not from screens. And screens circumvent that process. I won't go too deeply into the mechanisms, they can get boring, but just know they're there if you want to talk about them. So that leaves us with 2 options. Option 1, when you know something is wrong, do better. So we could just say, hey, mea culpa, get some of this tech out of schools, go back to what we know works, some analog methods, cool. Or 2, we could redefine our terms. We could redefine what it means to be an effective learner.
He then goes on to talk about his learning experience with reading comprehension.
I want to end with one quick story here. I guarantee all of us at one point took a test on reading comprehension. And the way it looked is this. Here's a passage of about 750 words. Here are 10 to 12 questions about that passage. Most of them are inferential, not factual. They're asking you to go beyond what you just read to see what you understood. Cool. Last year, the SATs had a reading comprehension section. Here's what it looked like. Here is a single sentence of 75 words. Here is one question, fact-based, about that sentence. Next. Here is another sentence of 75 words. Here is one question about that sentence. Next. Last year, they redefined reading comprehension to mean 54 short sentences with one question about each. That is skimming. That's not reading. Why would we ever do that? Because what do kids do on computers? They skim. So rather than determining what do we want our children to do and gearing education towards that, we are redefining education to better suit the tool. That's not progress, that is surrender.
I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and remember, if you've missed any of our episodes at all, you can have a look at our Spotify playlist by searching Kids Wave Radio. And remember, if you want to get involved in this poll, email kidswaveradio@protonmail.com, or alternatively comment below or vote in our poll. This is Shiloh McMillan signing out.
Kids Wave Radio, let your mind be free. Explore, learn, and share in harmony. Email us your thoughts, join the band. Kids Wave Radio at Proton